Hello.
Okay, welcome, folks. Here we are at the regular Wednesday JV Partner webinar event. This is held every Wednesday when there isn't a glitch, and I'm Fred Gleeck, your host. And today, I guess we've got a number of things to talk about. I'm just going to tell Bill DeWeese, who I just saw again on the line here, and Jason Brubaker is getting on as well. I wanted just to tell Bill that I actually had an interview where I used voice dash over dash training as an example. And what I was going to do is to show you exactly what I did there. Let me just go there. Uh, Voice dash over dash training. I used you as an example, Bill, of how the process worked. And so hopefully that will gain at least a little bit of traction from that standpoint. But anyway,
Great.
so let's have a little debrief here on what you found most helpful and interesting from the first annual JV Summit.
Talking to me specifically?
I am.
Okay. Well, there was so much going on and so much information to take in. I was blown away by how much I didn't know. I guess I'll start there. You've been around this, you get around this for a while, and you think that you've heard everything there is to hear, and then you realize, wow, there is so much more. People are doing so many cool things, and I'm thinking specifically of Ermel and his presentation on how he drives traffic to websites and the process that he uses and all of the different ways there are through documents and through software and through writing articles and then leveraging himself and his time by outsourcing and finding help to do all of that. And I was just completely intrigued by that and very excited to get to the place where we really focus solely, not solely, but mostly on driving traffic, because right now we're really in product and content creation mode.
Got it. So the other thing is that, and thanks for that, Jason. What about you? What did you find interesting that you didn't know we were going to cover or get at that event?
Well, a lot of my comments echo Bill's. I think that there's so much. It's like, I guess the best way to describe it, it's like anything in life that you do, right? The first couple of years you're into it, you get to this point where you think you know everything, and then you realize sooner or later just how much there is that you don't know. And I think
Absolutely.
what that did for me was it just expanded my context of what's possible. It also prompted me to get a nice calendar and put it on my wall so that I can remind myself to consistently update my blog, my website, and really, I guess, increase my game, and learn how to play at a much more profitable level.
Sounds good. Now, one of the things that when we were discussing on the site itself was the whole. I mean, on the JV Partner Facebook site, was we were talking about this issue of, and Jason, you chimed in on that, having to do with, and Bill and Jason are the two people sort of involved in this issue, was the idea that what if you had set up your blog and not done the post names in the way that everyone suggests you do it? So why don't we have a little discussion on that, Jason? I know that you just use this plugin. What's the plugin we're talking about here?
You know, I'm going to look it up through the course of this conversation, and then I'll chime back in. I don't have it right. I think it's called Dean's Permalink Redirect.
But you used it right on your site already?
I did use it, and what we're talking about for some folks listening is when you have a WordPress site, the ways that the URL, the Uniform Resource Locator, is configured for your blog postings, it automatically defaults to something weird. So, for example, I run filmmaking stuff. So anytime I write an article, the way it was set up is it would be filmmaking stuff, and then it would say 2010, and then 04 for April, and then the name of my article.
Yep.
And what we're trying to do is there's some theories out there which hold. I think there's a lot of support for these theories that for SEO purposes, you want to eliminate all of that extra stuff except for the name of your blog website, obviously, and then it should say / whatever that article is, which you would assume is optimized, for SEO and really focused on the topic. So for the 3 years or so that I've been running my website, I realized I was doing it all wrong. So I got excited, and I went out and changed my permalink structure, only to realize that my years of backlinks to my website suddenly no longer worked. And anytime I did a Google search and found one of these links and clicked on it, I would get a 404 error. So it was as if I just wiped myself off the map. Not something that I suggest other folks do. So I went back, and fortunately I was able to just resurrect my old permalink structure, which made all of my links work. And then that's when Dave Hamilton chimed in. He was like, "Oh, by the way, if you already have an established WordPress blog website, you should probably use this plugin if you're going to change your permalinks."
So
like,
now,
thanks, Dave.
So for how long, Jason, were your posts sort of out there hanging in the wind when people clicked on them?
Just one sleepless night, Fred. I fixed it about 6:30 a.m. this morning.
Got it. And so that immediately changed them all back so that they're all now active links.
Correct. And so what I did was I took Dave Hamilton's suggestion and I put the plugin in, and then I went back and optimized those permalinks as suggested. I took out so all of my articles moving forward fit this structure where it's just the name of my website / the title of my article with nothing in between.
And so, Bill, do you understand, Bill DeWeese, now in theory, how this works and how to change it?
Yeah, in theory, I do, and it's just a matter of going back and following the directions that have been laid out to do it. And I'm encouraged to know that no permanent damage was done, Jason. So that because my biggest fear would be screwing something up beyond repair. Yeah,
make sure you install that plugin first before you change the actual structure of your permalinks.
Okay.
And Jason, how much time did this take you to do? Was this time consuming?
Once I figured out how, no, it wasn't time consuming once I knew what I had to do. So you install the plugin, you follow the directions for the plugin, and then you follow Dave's directions on how to change your permalink. So if you do everything that way and you're familiar with putting plugins in, it shouldn't take you more than 15 minutes.
Yeah. And again, did you locate the name of the plugin yet?
Yeah, let me look that up real quick. Stand by.
Okay. Hey, Bill DeWeese.
Yes.
Hey, so let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that we're doing here, which is in terms of, and you and I talked about this, that we're shooting for an end of May completion date to put all the various products. So let's just let's just keep an update. We had a total of 58 to start.
Right. Well, we have, it's like 55 or 56 is the final number of product titles we came up with. Hey, and by the way, Fred, if you're trying to show your desktop, I'm not seeing it.
Oh,
I don't know if you're trying to.
Nice.
I can hear you.
Yeah, man.
I can hear you typing, and then I realize that I'm not seeing it. Ah, there it is. Okay.
Well, what a moron. Everybody missed everything I was doing here. Yeah, next time alert me to my stupidity earlier in the game.
I
was listening and I wasn't watching and thinking that I hear all these keystrokes and I realize, I don't see anything.
The same exact situation over here. I kind of noticed it, but then I didn't really pay attention.
Yeah.
Fred, I just through our little chat box there, I just gave you the name of that plugin.
Okay, let's see here. The name of the
It's called Dean's Permalinks Migration.
Okay, so this in any WordPress site will allow you to pull up Dean's Permalist Migration, and that's what you're going to want to use to correct it. Now, this is for people who have set up any kind of a blog and are writing articles and have let the WordPress default be what they're using instead of putting the % name % as you should, and that's in the custom field. Now, if you don't know what we're talking about here, Jason, remind me, where is that it's in settings, right?
Yeah, I'm actually, if you want to give me control for a couple seconds here, I can show you my desktop because I'm actually on the page.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm inside. Can you guys see this okay?
Not yet. One second. Let me just Hold on, and let me resize this so that the screen flow is capturing all of this. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so I'm inside my my back office here. Wow, this is now I realize like I'm kind of giving away the secret sauce. It's pretty funny.
Not really.
So what we're talking about here is you go to your settings. So you go into your dashboard
Uh-huh.
in your back office, go to settings, scroll down to permalinks. And on anybody's WordPress site, it automatically defaults usually to one of these up here. Well, this is an ugly default, the one with the P equals 1, 2, 3. Nobody knows what those posts are.
It usually defaults to day and name, I think.
Okay, is that the one it defaults to? That's where I was before. As you can see, I've already made the change here, but for those of us watching, do not change anything here until you install the plugin that we just described. And while I have you here, I'll just show you that plugin. So I've already installed the plugin. It's called Dean's Permalinks Migration. This was my old setting right here. So I had the year, the month, and the post name. You put that up there, and you let Dean know that that's how it used to be set up, so that when you make the new change, right here, anything that comes in through the old settings is automatically going to redirect to your desired destination.
Gotcha. And this was, again, once you found it, it's pretty easy to put that in, install the WordPress plugin, and make this go, as long as you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now let's ask Bill if he has any questions to ask you.
Well, I have to back up to the very beginning because I have never installed a WordPress plugin. So that scares me, and that may seem simple to you guys, but that scares me.
Yeah, I'm in. I can do it. I can give you a quick demo right now if this is appropriate.
Let's go.
So here's my site. I'm already logged in. You can see that I have my stuff at the top up here. So all I'm going to do is just click in, and this brings me to my, I'm now inside my site. So I click dashboard.
Bill, do you follow him so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen this site? Do you know how to get into your dashboard?
I sure do, yeah.
Okay, once you're in here, go ahead and click on plugins. You see that?
Yes.
When you click on that, you're going to have the option to add new.
Okay.
And you click add new, and that brings you over here to a search tab. And all you really have to do within the search bar is type in what you're looking for. So, well, there you can see I've already looked for that one. So Dean's Permalink is what I searched for earlier this morning after a sleepless night worrying about my my website.
Now, Jason, let me interrupt real quick. If you search for a plugin that has a similar name to other plugins, be very careful that you choose the correct one. In the case of this one, Dean's Permalinks Migrations, not a whole lot of people have that. Now, as you notice when Jason pulled this up, look at the rating. It's 4.5 stars, so it's got a really good rating. So when you pull up like anything for SEO, there are like 300 different plugins, so you have to be careful which kind of stuff you install.
Well, yeah, that's a very good point. And oftentimes before I install anything, sometimes I'll just open up another tab and I'll do a quick Google search just to see what other people say about it.
Good idea.
Mm.
You can also find out more about these if you just right-click on the details and open a new tab. That usually brings you over to a site that'll give you more details on the site. This one doesn't have a lot of details.
Yeah.
It just tells you, with this plugin, you can safely change your permalinks. Okay, thanks, Dean.
Yeah, pretty basic.
But other sites do give you a lot more stuff. So what you would do then in this situation is you would just click, if I wanted to install clean WordPress, which I don't know what that is, so I'm obviously not going to do it.
And with no positive ratings, I wouldn't either.
In fact, I don't. But you mentioned SEO, Fred. Maybe there's an SEO plugin. I typed in SEO right here.
Now, do you
there's
have
a gazillion of them out there?
Do you have all-in-one SEO installed yourself, Jason?
Yeah, that's the one that I have installed myself. In fact, if it's valuable, you know, I'm on the first page of Google for my search term, all permalink. You know, screw ups aside. Hopefully that stays. But
all-in-one SEO pack.
here's a little bit of my back office in terms of what I use. And I know you're recording this, so these are the actual plugins that I'm using. And you can tell I have a lot. That may be slowing down my computer. Here's one. I have the Super Cache. I do not have that activated. I'm going to go ahead and activate that.
Now,
Sometimes,
let me just throw a caveat out here. Anyone who is looking to install a lot of plugins, be careful, because oftentimes there are plugins that do not work well together and crash your entire site. So be very careful activating a ton of plugins to watch to see what happens, because oftentimes there are plugin conflicts.
yeah, I agree with you fully. And sometimes I've installed plugins that have absolutely crashed my entire website, and those were other sleepless nights. The good news is with plugins, if you if you do them one at a time and you realize there's something that goes a little bit haywire, at least you've sort of limited your variables, so you can go back in there and grab that plugin and get rid of it. And I've had to do that a few times.
And also, Bill DeWeese, what I'm going to have to do is, why don't you send a quick email to Stanley, Bill, and ask him which plugins you should be installing. I thought that the okay, I'll show my screen. Thanks. I thought that. Do you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So, Bill, one of the things. Thanks, Jason, for showing us that. Ask Stanley to give you the plug-ins you should be using. Now, I thought that the theme that he set up already had that pre-done, but apparently not. So we've got to go ahead and then do a few, and we can get a hold of a few of those things in there, and make it so that you've got all the various, and that might be actually the SEO. And Jason, tell Bill your experience with using the all-in-one SEO pack. Did you see some fairly immediate results from that?
Yeah, the interesting thing was, Fred, when I started this website, I really didn't know a lot about SEO, except I knew that it stood for search engine optimization. So I grabbed that plugin thinking like, well, this is interesting. Through the years, I realized that was a good pick, and that was just it was lucky. It was luck on my part. But Bill, by using something like that, I've talked to a few of our SEO nerd friends, and they tell me that is in fact a good plugin. I assume that's the one you're using, Fred?
Yep.
I have it too. I just checked. It's installed, and I have been using it.
Okay, good. Now, when you're checking your dashboard, then Bill, what other plugins do you have installed?
Hold on, that might be it. Let me just double check. I knew there was some sort of SEO plugin that I was using. Okay, I've got all-in-one SEO pack. That's the only thing I see listed here. Let me click plugins and see what I'm showing here.
And while he's looking that up, Fred, I'll make a comment too. Some of the WordPress themes that you use, like the theme that I use, is a very baseline theme. It doesn't have a whole lot of bells and whistles, or at least it didn't when I first got the theme installed. I've been able to go back in and put a lot of different bells and whistles in, which explains why I'm using so many different plugins. But the fact of the matter is, I know the themes that you guys use oftentimes are so robust that you may not have a need for all of the extra plugins because they're already built into the theme.
Hey, Avish?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Hey, do you know, can you contribute on that standpoint? Do you know whether or not the Freddy theme that Stanley produced has plugins or whatever built in?
Yeah, I was just looking. I have all-in-one SEO pack on the Speaking Expert site, but I'm not sure if it's needed. You'd have to ask Stanley whether that was kind of designed into the Freddy theme or not.
I don't really know, but I think it is needed to have that. So, Avish, I guess let's see what we were going over a little bit of a discussion. Thanks for all that, guys. I think that was helpful to everyone here and for anyone listening. Avish, what was your biggest sort of takeaway from the JV Partners Summit we just did?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, it's almost more personal development for me. My biggest takeaway was less on the technical side and more just kind of connecting with people who are excited about what they're doing kind of made me want to take a step back and relook at how I'm approaching a lot of the stuff we're all doing.
What?
Um,
Yeah, feel
go
free
ahead.
to elaborate. Feel free to elaborate on that.
Well, like I said, it's a little bit weird to be talking about it on a web information marketing call, but I think for me the biggest takeaway was, listening to you and some of the other guys really just talk about how excited you are to be working on this stuff, made me realize that I wasn't really all that excited about a lot of things I was working on. And, in order to sustain this over the long haul, I needed to either get excited or modify it in a way where I would be excited about it.
And so
So,
then tell people what you came up with. I mean, I know the answer, but just share with everyone if you don't mind what kind of change then. Now, the way that this was all prompted is I think that I got up in one of my rants and said that there are things that I'm doing that are so exciting to me that they keep me up at night and that I get so excited about it. And I think Avish was scratching his head going, "Holy crap, I must have missed the boat on this one. There's not a whole lot I'm getting really excited about." So then tell them what happened then.
well, I'm not really sure. I'm curious as to what you think the answer is. I feel like I'm still figuring that piece out. But I made a lot of progress. One of the things I think, and this is doing some research and a lot of journaling and whatnot, that I'm not a guy who's going to have one interest. And I think that's where the JV thing is really helpful too. Like I've been spending years thinking if I could just find that one activity that really had me with passion, I could wake up, work on it all day, and go to sleep at night, still thinking about it. And that's not me. I think so. I'm a little more excited on it. Excited to be doing the stuff with you and working on my blog and my speaking thing and the novel and really looking at it from that perspective, and that's been very helpful. So it's not about finding one thing, but touching upon a bunch. And I realize that to a lot of people, that sounds like being a jack of all trades and unfocused. But I think that's just how my mind seems to work.
Well, I mean, to piggyback on that, yes, and Avish, I think that in my case, I really know that information marketing and producing, training material is my thing. So if it's for me, it's producing training materials, that would include, info products, right? So, but the way that I get around what you're talking about, which is I think I would be tremendously bored just doing one thing. So I have, multiple partners in multiple ventures. And that makes it so, first off, that I'm getting towards the goal of 100 checks a month, because if I had 10 partners and 10 ventures with each partner, I'd have 100 total checks a month coming in. And to me, first off, I think that Avish, the idea of having many things that you're doing, as long as one of them isn't, playing a concert violin and also doing fly fishing, also doing speaking, you know, are they at least tangentially related?
For the most part, I mean, there's a couple of categories, I think, but they're all, I mean, with the exception of maybe like writing fiction, which is a little bit different from some of the other stuff, but everything else, fits somehow related to each other.
Yeah, but I think that writing fiction is almost like your dessert.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, well, I think the other revelation, which again, this is, being very self-revelatory here, is that I look back over my last year or two and realize that uh, almost all of my income came from almost none of my activities, if that makes in a weird sense. So, like, all the stuff I've been putting time and effort and stress about into hasn't really made me much money, so I'm like, why bother? I mean, I'm really relooking at my daily activities. Like, well, I mean, if I'm enjoying doing it and it's not bringing me money, that's one thing. But I'm like, if I'm not enjoying doing it and it's not bringing me money, then I got to really look at what the hell am I doing.
okay, so then where did the income come from?
Mostly it came from people who had seen me speak and then hiring me, or people who had gotten to know me as like friends referring me. And then a little bit came from some of the stuff we did together in terms of like off of the list, my list or your list in terms of filling the speaking school and selling some of the products.
Yeah, I mean to me, that's a big. I mean, again, each of us has our own things that we're sort of good at or not good at. But I mean, this is it's important.
Yeah, and so that's kind of my biggest takeaway from the partner summit was just I think being around people who were going through similar things. And I talked to Ermal afterwards, and he is kind of going through something similar. And so yeah, it was just I mean that I think that kickstart was worth more than I mean I learned a lot of useful techniques I'm planning on applying once I get this figured out. But I think that mental shift was that one mental shift was worth the entire weekend to me.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I also think that the ability to meet with people face to face became really, that showed it showed to me how important that was. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I second that.
Yeah, and I think
Is
that the other thing is that you know the face-to-face meeting with all of us. I mean, we had 10 people there, and for a weekend, it didn't take much time out of our schedules. It was easy to do, and I mean, I thought it was phenomenally useful, and I think that man, we gained a lot, and especially this next event coming up where we do it after the boot camp with Ermal will be phenomenal. We'll let other people know about that as well, but that was really something. The other thing that for me, I think that one of the things that Bill O'Hanlon and I put together is we literally came up with a list of things, and I'm going to share those with you guys at some point when we get them all together. He and I are actually. I'm going to visit Bill week after next for 2 days, and we're going to be working on various things because with Bill O'Hanlon, I have got now the following. We've got the publishing a book.com site. We're soon to be launching, and what's the URL for that, Avish, that we're doing?
I believe it's paid public speaker.
You want to make sure before I put it up.
Yeah, yeah, it's paidpublicspeaker.com.
So paidpublicspeaker.com. So this one is for publishing, obviously. And that's already sending me a nice check every month. And this is one for speaking, and that's good. And by the way, there are some spots, I guess we're packing, and the last one here is specifically, we're going to go for, and I'm not sure which URL we're using, but we're also going to be doing one for a psychotherapist. And I think that this model, has jump-started the income really nicely. And the thing that we're trying to do is to come up with, okay, what are the elements of making this happen? I mean, how are we going to do it? And obviously, there's sort of the pre-launch stuff, which is get them excited, right, about what's coming. Avish, that's what we've been doing with sending out the various things.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that that's important. And then we started to put together one of the things that Bill and I have changed, and Avish will probably have to do this for speaking as well, is I think before, first off, getting people to 6 months minimum sign up, and there was a few other things here, and I'll share these all with you one of these times shortly. One of the other things was every 6 months, meet in person if they can. So in other words, we invite everyone to basically come to a similar kind of a summit than what we did ourselves here last weekend. So we're going to get people who are, that's going to be part of their incentive to sign up for 6 months is if they sign up for 6 months, they get, and what do they get? Let's just go over that they get 2 calls per month, and then 1 call per month with an expert, sort of an outside expert, and a number of other things. And again, I'll list these all for you guys, but we're coming up with this whole list because Bill and I are going to be going over all this when I go to visit him. But I think that this has really, to me at least, it really has, sort of pushed through what it is we're trying to do. And like in the case of, Avish for us, we've got the revenue that's going to come in from the coaching, but we should also be looking at what are we going to be doing, you and I, for some of these people in the area of speaking, coaching, and things like that. And what can we do? So it's all about coming up with a system and a plan for each of these different niches. And so I'm excited. And the thing about it is the niche that we haven't even Bill O'Hanlon and I are doing these 2 niches first, because this one is going to be the huge niche, because that's where he's a rock star. So psychotherapists as a niche. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I mentioned it on the Facebook site. I'm serious, and I know it's a little bit of a time commitment and a money commitment, but anyone who wants to go back to the Philippines, with me and Ermel and a few other people, again, it looks like sometime mid-January, and I'm going to be, it won't be all work. It's going to definitely be some fun too. Somebody asked about cost. Once we get to the Philippines, costs, I mean, it's ridiculously cheap. So if you can do that and you're wanting to go, let me know, because what I'll try and do is we'll try and sort of plan that accordingly. So just to let you know, we'll probably leave something like on a Thursday or Friday and then come back on a Monday of the following week or thing. So it's going to be 10 or 11 days. Because if you go over there for less than that, you're still getting over jet lag before you come back. So to me, all of this stuff is how do we figure out a way to take our various groups. And Avish, how many people did Bill say we're up to now on the paid public speaker in terms of the numbers? I think we
He
have.
had emailed, in one of the emails he responded, he said 30 people were on the pre-launch list.
Yeah, and again, all these people are claiming that they are willing to pay, for 6 months at $297 a month. $297 a month for this, and we're going to have, I think we're doing a maximum of, is it 25 or 30?
25, yeah.
Yeah. So maximum potential revenue, if it's $297, so $300 a month times 25 people, it's $7,500. So that's split 3 ways. So it's 2,200 or thereabouts per month if we have full paying people every time. And what that means is, and the beauty of doing this with a group of people is that we have, Avish, Fred, and Bill each spending, how much? Maybe 4 to 5 hours monthly. Probably thereabouts. Pretty good deal. And so that's why that model, and Bill, and with Bill DeWeese, one of the things I wanted to do is try and figure out, once we see this and once we get the product going, we're going to want to probably copy this same model.
Right.
The nice thing about it is that, you can use the exact same model in a different niche, and it's perfect because, it's not like anybody there has ever seen this before. It's like completely new to them. Other things. So, anybody else have other things they want to talk about? I got a few other thoughts, but anything important? Don't all speak at once.
Nothing pressing.
What's that?
Said nothing pressing.
Nothing pressing. Now, the other thing that, I can't, and I think Jason's a good example. Jason, I saw when you opened up your back office there, you've had close to 300 posts, right? Jason
that's correct, Fred.
Yeah, with that many posts on on a blog, you're going to start. I think mine now has close to 1,000 posts, and so you're going to get traction if you're willing to put in the time. And so again, we're talking about if you have say 300 days of the year, you put up something. 3 years later, you're going to have 900 posts. It's going to be really difficult for Google to ignore you with 900 posts. Just so, again, looking at this long term, a little bit done every day or every week ends up with some really good things. And by the way, I've got this boot camp, I have had at least 2 people out of the 5 who signed up as a result of going to fredgleeck.com and having the pop-up come up there, which I think now everyone's seen, but I'll just do it so everybody can see it again here. So what happens is you go to fredgleeck.com, which is #1 rated for information marketing. Here's what comes up, and then hopefully we got a pop-up that starts to shoot in here. Or maybe I have my pop-ups blocked or something. I don't think it can be. Huh. Where's my sliding thing here?
You might have it set up to where it recognizes a cookie. It recognizes your computer and that you've already.
Okay, let's try and just refresh it and see what happens here. that does it. Yeah, it may not. So anyway, what happens is it floats over a pop-up, and that has been really pulling some good numbers because it sends people to the Fred Info Bootcamp site. Now that the same thing. By the way, I'm editing, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm editing the and really a quick aside. When you start working with video, I've got a terabyte of memory on my big computer in the office, and it just told me you've hit your memory limit. So I got to offload a bunch of my video files because those are huge onto some other media because it's taking up a massive amount of space. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together all of those, and then Bill, I want you to help me do some screening to stuff that we wanted to leave out on there. And
Right.
I wanted to just get, and Bill, I'll specifically send you a copy. If you can help me find that particular area, that would be helpful.
Sure.
And so the thing about it is, by the way, in case you guys haven't seen it, I should actually, the quality of the audio that came out, I was worried about the audio being recorded on that camera of mine. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't like perfect quality, but it's like on a scale of 1 to 100, I mean, it's at 85. So it's not like a big deal. So I'm using the actual audio from the video itself because it's got a condenser mic built in, but for the room that we were dealing in and the fact that most of the time we weren't talking over each other, that video worked very, very well. Any other thoughts? Ideas? Yeah, I was thinking also here, one of the things now, who's going to be coming to the ERML event on, so Avish is, I know that he's just coming a little bit late. Bill DeWeese, you're going to be there, right?
Yeah. Right.
I'm pretty sure Bill O'Hanlon is going to be there. Jason, what's your plan? Are you going to be there? Jason? Calling Jason? I guess he must be busy. So what we're going to try and do is get a bunch of people. Also, ERML was suggesting, which I think it's a good idea, is that if we want to let other people know about this, ERML says charge them $3,000 and then let everybody get $1,000 in terms of an affiliate commission if anybody shows up. Now, in the event that we have 30 people to show up, we can't do it here at the house. We'll then just move it to a hotel or something like that. So that's not a problem. Let's see here. What else did I want to show everybody about? Because there have been some things I've been doing here. Let's see. What can I show you? One of the things is, everybody's always like, well, I got a blog or whatever. So in the blogging area, and again, as far as I'm concerned, you can, you've got the text blog and you've got the video blog. And perhaps the audio blog, especially in Bill DeWeese's case. But for the text blogging, here's what I always do, and this makes it really easy for me to knock out any kind of a blog post. I always do this. I just go, okay, so first off, what's the title going to be? And then what I do is I come up with my introduction. And an introduction is usually 3 to 4 sentences. And then I come up with my bullet points, which is what am I going to cover. And those are usually anywhere from a low of 3 to a high of 10. And then I come up with a conclusion. And that's usually 3 to 4 sentences. Okay, so now if I come up with the bullet points, and let's say I end up with 6 total. So with each of those 6, I try and write anywhere from usually 2 paragraphs, consisting of 3 to 5 sentences each. Now, when I'm all done, this is usually going to come out to anywhere from a very low of 500 to as high as about 1,000 words. And I can knock these out literally in a matter of 20 to 30 minutes. So I think that, this is a system. If you're sort of like getting caught with, well, what am I going to blog about? If you have this sort of standard template where you decide on the title, and then what the title I'm always I'm thinking about my keywords, obviously. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so what are my keywords? Information marketing, selling information products, info products, information products. And I try and then use those keywords in the title. They don't have to be the entire title. So if you saw the last post here, if we go down to the one I just did, so here we go. My first information marketing mastermind group and why you should do one too. My only caveat is whenever you do a blog post, you should think about it in terms of not you, but the person that's going to be reading this. So who gives a crap about my first information marketing mastermind group? Nobody cares. It's mine. They're not getting anything out of that. So what's the addendum here is and why you should do one too. So then I've got in here now in this post, you notice information marketing is within the title itself. Also, please note that within the first paragraph, information marketing came up as well and was put there. Now, selling information products happens to be in there, et cetera, et cetera. So in the course of putting this together, I'm doing that. But in this case, I had a bunch of different bullet points that I did. So it was a little bit different than the other one, but it's in there. Now, the other thing that all of us, like I said, and Jason, thanks for doing this, is one of the ways that we can be helping each other is on any blog post, that a partner, quote unquote, does, dig it, tweet it, etc. That way, we're going to get some Google juice going. And as you can see here, I think Jason, there's 4 digs there. Thank you very much from everyone. That's excellent. That always helps. And so we should do that with, and for each other. So anyone, as soon as you go to the Facebook JV Partner section, if you tell me that you've put up a blog post and you want me to dig it, I'll go dig it. So that way, assuming it isn't just crap, but I'm sure it won't be. So that system is what I use for getting the written part of these done. And I think the same thing, and again, when I look at this, let me just see if I can get into, I'm just going to show you guys here whoops. So if I get into my back office here, what the, so now I've got 937 posts and a bunch of comments, everything else. So but the thing about it is, if you go back to my, to my site itself, or actually, now let's go to, the site itself. This is where, this is why I've got a little bit of a head up here. A leg up is that if you go down here, when we're talking about, how much stuff is on the site, I've got stuff from back, 19 whatever. I've got like stuff back that goes 6 or 7 years back. So it's not like I've got a big leg up on anybody in this group. It's just I've been doing it longer. So that's, I'm convinced that's why.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Shoot.
Going back, you were asking us, to dig and that whole thing. How do you have your blog set up so that all of those icons are easily accessible, where we just click the dig it or,
What do you bet it's a plugin?
Ah, great.
Now let's see. Let me just see here if we can get into mine. Okay, let's see here. What plugins do I have? Plugins. What do I have here? All in one. Okay, so here's some of the plugins I have. And Jason, do you know which one? Oh, here it is. The dig, the key, super. Do you know which plugin gives us those little icons, Jason? Is Jason there? Jason may not be here anymore. Avish, do you have any idea?
If I could see your list for some, you're still on your dashboard.
Stanley says it's dig. So if we went to search plugins, let's see here. Let's search plugins, dig. Okay, so this is dig all in one social voted buttons. So let me just pull it up here. Dig uh, plugin. So what this allows you to do is to have it come up with all of the various things that show on the site. So when you get people who come to your site and like they are on mine, and by the way, this is Bill, this is what, I'm sorry that we didn't do this, but let's just get Stanley to send you. And Stanley, if you don't mind sending Bill DeWeese, or maybe just going into his site and adding everything that I have on my site, so he has everything like we have it on the Fred Gleeck site. And we should also do that with anybody else who's a partner. Avish, I think, can do it himself, but definitely Burke needs help on that as well. So we'll try and do
Thank
that
you.
for everybody. So does that help, Bill?
That's awesome. I just want to make it as easy as possible for people to do that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you don't have a plugin there that allows people to do that, it's going to be work. You're right. And
Yeah.
so, you have any thoughts on that, Avish?
No, although I one thought, I guess, on the making it easy as possible with dig. If you're gonna ask other people to dig your stuff, I think, and I don't know how this affects the Google juice, but the very first person who digs it's gonna have to actually take the time to like write in a little summary.
Ah,
So I don't know if it's smart for you to do it first, so that there's at least one dig, and then when people go, they can just click dig this. They don't have to add it to dig.
I wasn't familiar with that. So at dig, let's go to dig then. Is it just dig.com?
Yeah, or if they use the button on your site, but that post doesn't have any digs, the first time you dig it, you have to. I believe I could be wrong, but this is in my experience when I've tried to dig stuff that's not on dig. You have to like enter in a little bit, like these little summary things.
Yeah, I understand. So in other words, whoever digs it first. So now, can you dig your own post?
You can now. I've read stuff in the past that's like not the best way to go, but that may just be because it's frowned upon, like within the dig community. I don't know if it affects your backlinks in Google Juice.
Well, let's just, what we should do is whenever somebody has one, let's just round robin that among ourselves. So you tell me if you have something you want me to dig, I'll go dig it and put a paragraph in there, and you can actually tell me what the paragraph is. Make it super easy for me.
Yeah, that'll be real easy then.
Yeah, I mean, that means that there's no work on my part. Now, Bill DeWeese, did you understand the discussion we're having here?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what happens is when you dig something, the first person is responsible for putting a paragraph together that sort of gives the overall summary of what the post is about, right, Avish?
Right.
Yeah, in my experience, yeah.
Yeah. And so that'll make it so that, the thing that I'm amazed by is that, we're starting to generate some real revenue here, from the group. And I appreciate those checks, by the way. And I think that the reason why that's happening is that everybody has been sticking to their knitting and getting everything done. And so now it's starting to pay fruit. And just like with everything, people who aren't willing to stick with something for a period of time to make sure and implement it, nothing's going to happen. But sometimes it does take a little time, and that's part of the deal. Other things, anything anybody else wants to discuss? Okay, so just as a matter of, so let's just put some things out here for responsibility. Avish, what are you going to do in the next 60 to 90 days?
Well, I need to finally complete that autoresponder sign-up opt-in form thing.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the blogging.
And
other than that, I mean, I think as far as Speaking Expo goes, that I think is good. Now what I really want to work on is maybe offline talk with you about that funny training video thing.
Yep.
So I think that's something I'd like to put energy into.
Good. Okay. What about for you, Bill?
content. Just like Avish, blogging, of course, do that 3 or 4 times or so a week, and then continue to create these products. I'm up to 12 now.
Nice. Okay,
So I
so
need
now
to,
you're up to 12 of 56 or so.
right, yeah.
Nice. So you've got, you've made a good dent in that.
Yeah, almost a fourth of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, and when that whole thing is done, you're going to have a lot of stuff there. Now, have you checked your latest ratings and rankings on?
Yeah, yeah. This morning I checked. I'm Google number 47, and that's the only. It's funny because I popped up in no, not AOL, on
Bing?
Bing
Yeah.
for like a day at number 10, and then disappeared. So I don't know what that's all about.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that Google has a process, and Avish, do you know about that? The whole Google sandbox thing.
I'm not sure. No.
What happens is that sometimes you'll appear in Google and then they'll put you to the side for a while. I mean, if they've got some weird algorithm that'll, they want to see that people are really not full of baloney who they're placing in there. So they sort of sometimes they have a secret sauce that nobody really knows about. But there's a lot of things that are happening. I certainly don't think it hurts for me to have Vinton Cerf, who's a big shot at Google, on the front page of my site. If somebody is manually checking those, I think that helps.
I would think.
Do I know that for certain? Absolutely not. Does it seem like it makes sense? Yeah. So, yeah, I think then for us, I mean, all of these things are good. And I want to make sure that anytime any of the partners needs help from me, that you get in there. So I think that's it for this week. Now, again, we're back on track doing these every week. And so, again, same time, same channel next week. And does anybody have any final thoughts? If not, we'll sign off.
I'm good.
Okie doke. See everybody next week. Thank you for being here.